Hey everybody, it's Mr. Oaks. So we are moving on to volume of cylinders. When you think of a cylinder, you can think of something like a trash can or a soup can. Basically, it's anything that has a round base um, and then just goes straight up. So, like I said, like a soup can, a soda can, garbage pail, things like that, a barrel, those are all cylinders. And again, volume means the amount of space that is inside a three-dimensional figure. So last time we talked about rectangular prisms and cubes. So again, how much space is inside a box. So today is going to be volume of a cylinder. So how much space is in pretty much a can. So what I have here, I'm going to have three problems here that I want to show. Now, when we do these, depending on how they ask the question, we can leave these in terms of pi, we can round and use 3.14. For the problems that you're going to be doing on Delta Math, they actually just want you to round to the nearest tenth by using the pi button on your calculator. So when you type these things into the calculator, you're going to actually hit the button that says it's the pi symbol, and that will then give you a more exact answer, but then you're going to round it to the nearest tenth. So what I have here, find the volume of each cylinder, round to the nearest tenth. The first thing I want to show you is, here's the basic volume formula. Volume equals capital B, and it actually is important that it's capital B times H. So it's V equals capital B times H. Capital V is volume, lowercase h in this case is height, and uppercase B represents the area of the base. So depending on the shape of the base, that area will be different. So, again, if you have a rectangular base, you would use length times width. If you had a circular base, you're going to need the area formula for a circle. Now, the area formula for a circle is pi r squared. Pi times the radius of the circle squared. So we're going to now switch that in here. So for our cylinder, with the new formula, what the formula we're going to use is volume equals pi r squared h. Okay? Because the area of the base is the area formula for a circle, pi r squared. So we just substitute that in. So let's look at the problem we have here. So we have a cylinder, and it's on its side. So when you think about what height means, it's not always going to be the up-down. What they're really talking about is the side that is not the base. So when we look at this, I notice that this flat side here is a circle. That's going to be our base, because I could tilt that can up onto that base. Couple of things. When we talk about a radius is a line that goes from the center of a circle to a point out on the edge of the circle. Okay, so as you see, I have a dot in the middle here, and the line goes to the edge of this circle. And what we're saying is that line there is 4 feet. The height we're looking at as 12 feet. So I'm actually going to write over here, radius equals 4 feet. Height equals 12 feet. Oh, I hope this doesn't fall down. So now what we're going to do is we're going to plug in that information into our formula. And that's really a lot of what we do with volume, is we just plug it into the formula and see what we get. So the first thing I'm going to do, is rewrite this, and I'm going to keep my pi symbol just that. I'm not going to change it to 3.14, because it says round to the nearest tenth, and it does not say keep it in terms of pi, which means that we just leave pi as it is even in our answer, and it doesn't say use 3.14 for pi. That's two things you could get with a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this r with 4, and I'm going to square that, and I'm going to replace h my height, with 12. Now I'm going to do this step by step so you see what's going on. But once you put this in your calculator, the calculator is going to do all these steps for you, but it's good to know that when you have to show your work, what the work is that's expected. So when I look at this, I go, okay, well, volume equals pi times what's 4 squared? It's 4 times 4. 4 times 4, 16. 16, and I still have that 12. Okay? So now I still have these two numbers here, 16 and 12, so I'm going to multiply those together. Volume equals pi times 16 times 12, put it in the calculator, it's 192. In case you think I did that in my head, I have paper down here. So now I'm going to multiply this. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to write out the entire thing. Exactly what we get, not rounded yet. I'm going to write my rounded answer right over here. When I do this multiplication in my calculator, what I wind up with is this big long number. Volume equals 603.1857. I'm not done yet. 895. That's a lot of numbers. That's why we're going to round to the nearest tenth. In case you forget what the nearest tenth is, it means I need to round to one decimal place. So I need to round to this spot right here. But in order for me to do that, I have to look at the number that comes right after it. So I'm going to round to this first spot, which right now has a 1 there. But I have to look directly to the right of it and see that there's an 8. And ask, okay, what does that 8 do to the 1? Does it make the 1 stay as a 1? Or does it cause it to go up to 2? It causes it to go up to 2. So, when we round this, to get our answer, volume equals 603 point, that 1's going to become a 2. We used feet, so just as I said before, when we talk about volume, we're talking about cubing the unit. So our unit is feet, so we're going to have feet cubed. So the volume of this cylinder right here is 603.2 cubic feet. Okay, so that's our first one. Okay, now they gave us the radius that time. That's not always going to be the case. Sometimes they're going to give us the diameter. Now, if you remember, diameter is a line that goes completely across the circle. We can't just plug that in because that's not what the formula asks for. The formula is volume equals pi r squared h. So we need the radius. We can't just plug in and be like, yeah, we're good. We have to plug in the radius. So how do we find that when we're given the diameter? Simple. We divide the diameter by 2. Since the radius goes halfway across and the diameter goes all the way across, we need half the diameter. So I'm going to write over here. Radius equals the diameter divided by 2. Okay? Well, here I have that the diameter of this circle, this base circle, is 10 inches. So the radius is going to equal 10 divided by 2, which gives me 5. So now that's what we're going to plug in for R. Okay? I almost said any questions. This isn't live. No one's going to ask me a question right now. So, now we're going to start plugging in. Alright? Volume equals pi. Our radius is now 5. 5 squared. And our height is 6 inches. Volume equals pi. 5 squared is 25. Remember, 5 times 5 times 6. Okay? Multiply 25 times 6. Volume equals 150 times pi. Now, if the question actually said leave in terms of pi, I would stop there and I would put my cubic inches after that. It's asking us to round to the nearest tenth, so I have to keep going. This is another one, so I have to do 150 times pi. So when we do this, 150 times pi is 471.23898. Star Wars. So when I look at this, I'm looking at the 2 and I'm saying, does the 3 that comes after it do anything to change the 2? Remember, if we're going from 0 to 4, that doesn't change the number. 5 up to 9, that does. Since this is a 3, we're closer to 0.2 than to 0.3. So when I write this, volume equals 471.2 cubic inches. Okay? So, that's when we're given the radius or the diameter and the height. Well, sometimes they want to know, well, what's the height? That's usually the question they're going to ask. Sometimes they'll ask the radius, but then you have to deal with square roots. And some of the questions we're going to have, that's probably not going to be the case. They're probably going to ask for the height. So, what do? Well, we're still going to use that formula. But now, in order for us to find the height, they have to give us the volume. So when I look at this, again, find the height of the cylinder, round to the nearest tenth. So I look at this, and if we look, notice, over here, they give us h for height. So we don't have the height. And they don't give us a radius, they give us a diameter. So the first thing I'm going to do is change this. Radius equals diameter divided by 2. You can barely see that really. Radius equals 8 divided by 2, which is 4. So our radius is going to be 4. And they give us the volume. The volume is 250 cubic feet. So, what do? Well, we start off the way we're going to start off with everything. We're going to write down the formula. Volume equals pi r squared h. And now we're going to plug in what we know. Well, we know that the volume is 250, so I'm going to write that down. 250. Pi is going to stay the same. We know our radius is 4, so I'm going to plug that in. 4 squared. We don't know h, so we're just going to write h. So now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do 4 squared. Nothing happens on the left-hand side with the 250. Pi times 16, and then the h on the outside. Now, this is basically a simple one-step equation, just with not so simple numbers. So what we need to do is, we need to get the h by itself. It's multiplying pi and 16. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Division. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 16 pi. What I would do is, put it in, if you're putting in your calculator, do 250 divided by, and then put in parentheses 16 pi. I'm not going to do the same thing here, because this is just going to cancel out. And we're going to be left with h on that side. Now, 250 divided by 16 pi not a nice number, as we've seen. It is, I'm going to start over here, 4.9735, this goes for a while, 919, did I give myself enough room? Yes, I did, 72. Again, it's long, it's ugly. We're rounding to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to look here at the 9 and say, what does the 7 do? The 7 changes the 9 technically to a 10. Well, this is 4.9. So what's going to happen is I'm going to actually increase this up. And when we round it, since it says to the nearest tenth, I still need something in the tenths place. This rounds up to 5.0 feet, because that's, we had cubic feet, we had feet, so this is feet. Okay? It is actually important that whenever something says round to the nearest and gives you a decimal place, that you have something in that spot, even if it's just a 0. Okay? So that's what we got here. I hope everybody does okay. I hope that helped you. And I hope that everybody continues to do well. Stay safe, stay healthy. Talk to you soon. Bye.